Actually, there's already quite a lot we've learned. First of all, the picture of the economy, just how the economy is doing. Of course, you know, autumn statements typically were all just about updating us on how things were looking. And this is showing you economic growth and the forecast last time around. So the higher these bars are, basically, the better the economy is doing, the higher GDP growth is. That was March, OK? So that was March. Look at these bars. Now look at what's happened this time around, OK? Let's look in the short term, first of all, OK? So in the short term, 2023, better than expected, and that's part of the explanation for why the Chancellor has a bit more money to spend. But, you know, it's a very big but here. Look at the next few years. Look at 2024, big cut in 2024. 2025, big cut in 2025 as well. That's down from 2.5%, which is your kind of... That's what you'd be hoping for, you know, trend growth rate, typically, down to 1.4%. And it's only towards the end. Actually, even 2026 is a little bit weaker as well. So it's a weaker economy. It's a weaker economy in the medium to long term, slightly stronger in the short term. No recession. So that's kind of good news, at least on that front. But it's not necessarily anything to write home about. Worth saying, though, better than the Bank of England is forecasting. We showed you earlier on what the Bank of England was forecasting. These bars were a lot lower. So that's something at least. Now, inflation, OK? This, obviously, the cost of living crisis has been the big story recently. Last time around, the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, was saying there was going to be a very big rise in inflation and then it would be down, and it would be getting down towards zero come the kind of middle of 2025. And that was with relatively low interest rates. Well, relatively low, 4.5%, so lower than they are at the moment. Now look at what the latest forecast is. You can see it is coming down, but not going down to those same levels. So you've got slightly higher inflation. It's still, you know, be reassured here, it is still around that 2% level, OK? So this is not kind of out of control inflation, but still, it's higher than it was before. That's inflation, OK? Let's deal with, you know, the other big thing here, borrowing. This is basically the government here talking about how much it's going to be borrowing each year. These numbers, by the way, will bring you the kind of billions numbers, but this is as a percentage of GDP, so you're kind of looking at comparative numbers here. Again, slightly lower borrowing each year, but as you'll see, there are still some big giveaways here. So these numbers aren't going down by as much as they could have gone down had the Chancellor decided to pocket extra cash that was coming in to him. And that comes back to the big story here. And you just saw, we were talking about the scorecard. The scorecard is basically your measure of just how much money is coming into the exchequer or going out. And we can bring you actually straight away, this is the overall number, the scorecard totals of the amount of money that, in this case, because these are negative numbers, that's money going out of the exchequer into our pockets. So isn't that great? But here's the thing, OK? These are big figures, by the way, and about half, let's focus on 2028-29, because that's usually people look at the final year of the forecast horizon. That's a lot of money, £21 billion coming out of the exchequer into people's pockets. About half of it is that national insurance cut. The rest of it, slightly more than half actually, is full expensing, OK? So it's mainly full expensing, in other words, that measure where businesses can write off all of their investment or a lot of their investment against their future tax bills. It's a lot of that. But here's the thing that's worth noting, OK? These bars, you see these bars, when they're down, it means that there's money going out of the exchequer into your pockets. 1 year ago, in last autumn's statement, those bars were way up there. In fact, the government was taking up to £55 billion out of our pockets and bringing it in. So this only goes less than halfway, actually, to reversing what we saw in the autumn statement last time around. And here's the kind of chart that I said that we really needed to watch out for today. It is the tax burden, because remember, this is all for Jeremy Hunt and for Rishi Sunak about being able to say they are cutting taxes. Well, have a look. This shows you taxes as a percentage of GDP going all the way back to 1948. So the higher that line is, the more heavily taxed this country is. It's all kinds of taxes, business taxes, personal taxes. In March, and these numbers have been readjusted because we've got different GDP numbers. In March, look, it was going up to there. Do you think that now the line is going to be lower than that? In other words, a lower tax burden or higher? Well, here's the surprising thing. Actually, the latest line is higher. The tax burden is higher than it was last time. A really striking bit of news there from this autumn statement.